Here's a question for you. With all the advances we've had in weaponry in the last couple hundred years, why isn't the lever action rifle dead? For hunting big game, especially big critters like elk at long range, bolt action rifles more commonly chamber the kind of cartridges we need to deliver accuracy and flatter trajectory. For self-defense or combat operations, auto-loading rifles, they offer rapidity of fire, maximum magazine capacity. Best thing there is to save your life. But every year we see new lever action models introduced. The SHOT Show's just over. A couple of new lever actions introduced again this year. Sales of these things continue to skyrocket. Why won't the lever action die? Stick around, we'll talk about it. The first repeating action rifle type was a lever action, sort of, called a volcanic, designed in 1848, produced in 1855 by Horace Smith and Daniel Wesson. Yes, the same Smith and Wesson we now know for revolvers and semi-automatic pistols. Oh, and yeah, last year they introduced the 1854 lever action rifle, named after the patent date of 1854. You probably thought these lever action things all started with Winchester, didn't you? Oliver Winchester founded Winchester Repeating Arms in 1866. He had earlier obtained the defunct volcanic operation from Smith & Wesson, as well as the Henry lever action, which came about in 1860. From there, it became the gun that won the West. Now, there were other American lever action manufacturers along the way, Marlin and Savage being the two best known. Today, it's possible there might be more Marlin lever action rifles being made than even Winchesters. Marlin is actually owned by Ruger now. Many of those being sold by the modern Winchester Repeating Arms Company are actually made in Japan. The Henry Repeating Arms Company resurrected that old lever action name in 1996, and they produce lever action rifles in a multitude of styles and calibers. Harrington and Richardson just announced at the recent SHOT Show a new lever action chamber for the .357 Magnum. Looks to be a knockoff of the Winchester 1892 action, designed by John Moses Browning. Lever actions ranging from the Winchester 73, the gun that won the West, to 1892 are also being imported from overseas makers like Rossi in Brazil and Pedicoli in Italy. The calibers available in modern lever actions range from 17 and 22 caliber rimfire up to the .300 Winchester Magnum, chambered in the Browning BLR model. Large caliber thumpers like the venerable 4570, 450 Marlin, 450 Bushmaster, they deliver big, heavy bullets with the ability to take any game on the North American continent, and with the right loads, probably everything in Africa as well. Now, traditional style lever actions are still made from blue steel and walnut, and they probably make up the bulk of today's production. But stainless steel models with synthetic stocks or laminated stocks, probably more weatherproof. One of the latest developments is lever action rifles with tactical features like black stocks, threaded barrels for a sound suppressor. Traditional lever guns feed from the tubular magazine that lies under the barrel. Since cartridges were in direct linear contact with each other in those magazines, only round nose or flat point bullets are safe for use. That prevents a sharp bullet point from setting off the primer ahead of it in a hard recoiling rifle. Now, vertical fed magazines appeared in the Browning designed Winchester Model 1895 and in the Savage 1895, which became the Savage 99. It had a rotary magazine. The models not using the tubular magazine were able to chamber modern rimless cartridges and sharp pointed bullets for better ballistic efficiency. And these kind of models are still available from both Winchester in the model 1895 made in Japan, as well as Browning and Henry. Iron sights were the traditional aiming kind of equipment on lever guns, and the original top ejecting designs like the Winchesters, they didn't lend themselves to optics when we got into the modern era. The Winchester 94, which is still in production from Winchester, now comes in an angle eject version which can mount a centerline scope. And the solid top actions from Marlin, Henry, Browning, others, they're easily set up with either magnified scopes or red dot optics. One overlooked sighting arrangement is a tang-mounted or a bolt-mounted peep sight. They were very common before the era of glass optics. And a lot of people think that the peep sight is slow, but it's not. Look at the M1 Garand, the M1 Carbine, the Springfield 03A3. Modern M16s and M4s, they have what we would call peep sights. They're aperture sights. Once you're trained to use them properly, which is to just look through the rear sight, ignore it, concentrate on the front sight, they can be very fast to use. When we started into cowboy action shooting, I actually won one of the state matches one year. And I did that because I was shooting a Browning 1892 carbine and 357 Magnum fitted with an old original antique marbles tang sight. Everybody thought the peep sight was slow, so they asked me to put on a little demo for them and show them how to use it. That was a mistake I made. After they all went out and put tang sights on their carbines, they could shoot them as fast as I could, and I didn't win as much anymore. The most common caliber we've seen in lever actions in the United States over the years is undoubtedly the 30-30 Winchester, earlier stamped on barrels as the 30 WCF, or Winchester centerfire. The 30-30s probably killed more American whitetail deer than maybe all other calibers combined. And it's still a pretty good deer hunting caliber, out to 150 yards, maybe 200 yards with some of those Hornady FTX bullets with their sharper points, better trajectories. The gun that won the West was the Winchester 73. And actually, today, we would call that a pistol caliber carbine. Because the 4440 cartridge, 44 WCF, is really a pistol-sized cartridge. It was chambered in Colt's 1873 Peacemaker, as well as other single-action and double-action revolvers of the frontier era. Having both a sidearm and a carbine that fired the same ammunition made a lot of sense in those days, and can still make some sense today. The longer barrel of that Winchester carbine burned the black powder charge in the 440 more effectively, gaining a little bit of velocity and more power over than what you got from the revolver. Nowadays, when we think of a 44 caliber lever action carbine for pistol-sized cartridges, it's not the 4440 in general. I mean, they can be had for cowboy guns, but the 44 Magnum has become the 44 caliber of most of those lever actions. And it delivers far more power than the 4440 ever could, black powder or smokeless charge. My personal collection of lever action rifles ranges from 22 long rifle to 45-70. Two of mine are those pistol caliber sized, the Browning 1892 carbine, a modern copy of the Browning designed Winchester 1892. Mine are chambered in 357 and 44 Magnum. Now the 44 makes a great short-range deer hunting carbine, and with the right ammo, it can even serve as a bear defense gun for my camping trips out in Wyoming grizzly country. 357 model has served as what I call my house gun for more than 40 years. Used to hang over the back door of my house out in Wyoming, and now it leans in the corner of the bedroom. I load it with 125 grain XTP Hornady hollow point loads. Now the muzzle velocity of that load from a 357 revolver is about 1350 to 1400 feet per second. But when that same cartridge is fired from that 20-inch carbine barrel, you get more than 50% added velocity. It comes out at over 2100 feet per second. That's why I use the tough XTP bullet. Lighter build jacketed hollow point bullets at 125 grain weight just explode into fragments from that carbine. Very minimal penetration. But that tough bullet at 2100 feet per second makes it for a very formidable home defense cartridge. It would be a great short-range deer hunting cartridge as well. Now, I'm not aware of anyone chambering 10 millimeter in a lever action carbine. There are 9 millimeters. And there is a cartridge known as the 10 millimeter Magnum, which is a lengthened 10 millimeter auto case. It was designed for use in 10 millimeter revolvers, where their cylinder would take more case length, added powder charge, and more power. That 10 millimeter Magnum would make a heck of a nice little lever action carbine. Rossi makes a 92 model chambered for the 454 Casull. It throws loads with power level comparable to a lot of 45-70 ammunition. So you've got a little 6.5 pound carbine that throws one heck of a powerful bullet out if you want to take the thump on the other end from the recoil. I think one of the biggest advantages of a lever action carbine, especially the pistol caliber carbines, are the semi-automatic bans that we've had around the country from Illinois, Connecticut. There are others. Until the Supreme Court strikes that down, and we may still be looking at a couple of years or more down the road before that gets to the Supreme Court, lever actions are legal everywhere. A lever action carbine in 357 Magnum is one of the best choices for home defense I think you can come up with. A lever action carbine in 30-30 is a great farm, ranch, truck gun. You've got 100 to 150 yards of reach, pretty serious power. Holds 6 or more rounds. The pistol caliber carbines routinely hold 10 rounds or more. You can work that action just about as fast as you can get back on target. They're serious for self-defense. Anyone who's ever hunted horseback with a rifle scabbard under your leg learns to appreciate a lever action rifle. A bolt action is a noticeable lump under your leg, and it can get uncomfortable by the end of the day. But that flat profile of a lever action almost disappears. You can ride them all day. So whether you like a lever action because it's practical and reliable and, depending on the caliber, pretty powerful, or just because you watched way too many John Wayne movies when you were growing up, the classic lever action is a great addition to anyone's arsenal. Why isn't it dead? Well, I think it's that nostalgic love affair we have with the Wild West. Everybody wants one. And as I said, they are practical for hunting and self-defense and home defense. They're more expensive nowadays than a bargain basement priced AR-15 because there's a lot more machining and older kind of technology in building them. But they're magical rifles and they're fun to shoot. I don't think the lever action in this country will ever be dead. Folks, if you enjoy these videos, I'm doing you some good with these things, and I ask you to please subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. For the next 2 or 3 videos, the ballot for the NRA Board of Directors is out there now. Those of you who are voting members, life members, or if you've been an annual member for 5 or more years, you got a ballot in the magazine you received towards the end of January. The NRA has gone through some hard times. A lot of corruption was uncovered. Wayne LaPierre, the executive vice president, was thrown out by the New York court system. It's my understanding he recently repaid the NRA more than $4 million, sort of proving that he was ripping the place off. The problem we see is that a lot of the members of the board of directors who allowed him to get away with that are still there. So where you see the ballot in the center of your magazine, there's a 2-page ad there. And that lists 28 people in a group called NRA 2.0 or Elect a New NRA. If you want more information on these 28 people, you can go to their website at electanewnra.com. Now, I'm one of those candidates, and all of them are reformers. All of them want to replace those board of directors people who were there with Wayne LaPierre and take that organization back to where it was, or hopefully better yet. To get active again in the fight for our Second Amendment rights, to get active in training. And one of the most important aspects I see is to bring young kids into our sport. Okay, if we can get these kids away from a Game Boy or away from a smartphone and have them spend their time looking down a set of rifle sights for competitive shooting, safety training, hunting, they're going to have a better life. And I think that's part of what we need to do. So folks, I ask for your vote. Vote for the NRA to come back in this century bigger and better than it ever was. Thank you folks for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. Be safe out there. Okay, we got them both here now. You ready? Bud got one. Ginger got one. Oh, she missed it. She usually gets them, doesn't she, Bud? Okay, girl, last one. You ready? You ready? Yeah! That's all there is till next time.